I'll call this meeting to order and we'll get started with the work session agenda. First item will be Mr. Travis Cunningham, our HR Director, with a discussion of updates for personnel, policies, and procedures.
Good evening. Joe, if you could start that 3-minute timer, that'd be great. Keep me on the clock here. So I gave you a stack of information there in front of you.
Which
and maybe less is more, but not in this case. So just kind of want to talk about some policies. The mayor and I, the leadership team, we've kind of looked at some of these that need to be updated. And so we've kind of done our research and come up with some proposed changes. And so we'll just dive off into the travel policy. I kind of put them in order for you. The current travel reimbursement guidelines in the handbook leave a lot of room for personal interpretation. The mayor asked Lisa to reach out to several municipalities, some of her contacts around the state, collected some example policies. Kim, Lisa, and I met, drafted our own, and then took it before the mayor and the personnel board. What you have in front of you is what currently exists in the handbook and kind of what we would like to replace that with. We'd like to think that this new policy is way more thorough and provides better expectations and guidelines for any employee traveling on behalf of the city. You'll see there's guidelines for the travel request itself, transportation, lodging, and even meals. And I know y'all haven't had a lot of time. I'm sorry, I was out sick last week. I wasn't able to get this in your packet early. But it's pretty standard. I don't think anything on it is too questionable. I think where we ran into some kind of speed bumps with this was employees who want to take someone like a spouse with them or extend their trip because maybe they're going somewhere that they'd like to stay a couple extra days. So that was some of the areas that we kind of got into some discussion about because you can't have a spouse in a city vehicle, and we wanted people to take city vehicles if they can. So that was really the only place we kind of got in the weeds.
Can we just jump in, maybe ask a few questions? I'm kind of just glancing over this.
Absolutely.
I noticed just the first thing that jumped out in the lodging section, there's no limit on the amount that they can charge for lodging. It just says it's an allowable expense. So they want to stay in a hotel room that's $600 a night. I don't see where it's precluded.
Yep. That's a great point.
Well, and I think where that would come into play too is that there is an authorization form that is attached to the back. I know we recently had one that kind of came up, that it has to be approved by their supervisor and by the mayor prior to them traveling. So that is something that we could look at. Obviously, it's going to probably depend on where they're going.
Maybe there should be some language in there that has to be pre-approved by their manager then.
It's in here. Second paragraph.
Under the lodging?
No provisions. Yes. Says a travel authorization request form must be approved by the department head or said mayor prior to any travel and or commitment of funds.
Yeah, if you look at the second to the last page, it's kind of, maybe this isn't in the perfect order here, but there's a employee travel authorization form instructions, so kind of what they have to do with that form and when they have to submit that for approval before their trip.
Does that have an estimate of the cost?
It does.
I hadn't seen the form, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's the very last page.
Oh, I hadn't got to the last page yet, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. So right there, they would put in their estimate of lodging.
So if they requested a room at the Ritz-Carlton for $550 a night, we're probably going to deny that.
Right.
Yeah. Unless they pay the second half of it, I guess. Sure they could do that.
I would even maybe want to have a line in there that said, an effort be made to book at the U.S. government per diem. And that's why I say an effort be made, because sometimes that's not possible, and sometimes you have to exceed that. I run into that from time to time. But in most instances, you know, you can.
I know they've kind of cracked down on that. I used to do that a lot myself because we were a government contractor. And they have started asking, and local government typically isn't something they will
Right.
go for, but not a bad idea.
Well, you can ask for that rate, but it's just something that allows, that
Sure.
rate or lower. You may not even be traveling under that rate, but
Right.
that would be like the limit.
Right.
I would say, should try to stay within that limit. And that gives you a kind of a ceiling for a given city.
Sure.
Something to shoot for anyway.
That, and I also think a lot of times, I know like probably when the city clerk travels, there's a conference hotel, and that's all part of the package. So, again, I mean, that authorization form has to make it through the supervisor, through Kim as the city treasurer, and through myself. So that's something we scrutinize quite often.
Well, I noticed that in the airlines, there was mention of lowest fare possible, and so I just thought maybe
Yeah.
in keeping in harmony with that, just maybe one or two more lines on lodging might be in order.
At most of the conferences I attend, there's actually a block of rooms at a lower rate also.
What was that, Lisa? There's a what?
There's usually a block of rooms at a lower rate for, if you're
Right.
attending that conference.
Right.
Yeah, pre-negotiated rates and all for the conference, yeah.
I would guess for probably most of our travel, it's going to fall into something like that.
Are libations in here? Or, in-
Under meals, it addresses that, does not include alcoholic beverages.
You know, on that, on the meals, I wouldn't mind putting a per diem in there. You know, depending on where you're traveling to, because, you know, even if you're out of state, $65, depending on where you're at, that may not be good. I mean, $50 a day is, you know, kind
What's
of
the-
tough too. I'd say, I think Huntsville's about 56 or so a day. And, I know a lot of places I travel out of state, they can be 70, $80 a day. We
Lisa-
probably won't be traveling that far, but
Right. Lisa, do
I
you
think
remember?
it gets a little bit more lenient. It's a little bit more generous if you were to use the per diems.
Per diem.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to do per diem.
so, I mean, what's the
Well,
difference in
but
the
you can
50
say
per
up
day?
to, they can spend up to this amount per day.
Yeah, we can say
Same-
that. We just
same
can't do
thing.
a per diem.
Right.
Yeah, I think he just wants to
Yeah.
raise that 50 and
Yeah,
65.
I'm just raising that to whatever the per diem is. The in-state meals are limited to, you know, location per diem, you know, that number defined by per diem.
We looked at the per diem, and the thing about a per diem is it's paid no matter what. So if
I'm just saying,
Okay.
The definition
Talking about
is
the
that
dollar
$50 a
amount.
day, the dollar amounts, they're limited to the per diem of that location.
Okay.
It almost always is going to be slightly more generous than that.
Outside of council, you know, and that's where we came up with that number. It was just trying to come to average, so make sure that, you know, everybody can see that number.
That's great if you're at a place that's below average, but if you're at the place where it's above average, then
Well, I think we kind of, if, I could be wrong, but I think we were thinking like 10 for breakfast, 20 for lunch, or maybe 15. I don't remember. We had a little breakdown that we were kind of looking at like by meal, just to try to give us an idea. And then a lot of times those meals are included, you know, especially if you're at a conference, you know, a meal may be included in that as well. So, but no, it's something to definitely look at. And I've made a note here.
okay.
And they were changing, I didn't have time to read the old policy. This is strictly the new policy that we come up with, correct?
Correct.
And so, just asking, was there something very inefficient about the old policy, or what are we,
Well,
what am I focusing on here? Like,
There was technically not a policy, it was just
So
a
that first page that I
reimbursement.
saw with all that white, with all the lines running through it was the complete policy?
Correct. That was
Okay,
it.
got it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, sounds good. Yeah, I agree.
And if you have more questions, I mean, feel free to send me an email. We can take a look at it. That's why we wanted to get it in here and just kind of discuss it a little bit before we move forward. Any other questions?
I mean, we just, it's hard to,
Great start. What else you got? What's next?
that's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything.
So-
I have to come back to that.
So the next one is talking about certifications and training. The handbook currently has some verbiage about training and certifications, but no incentives for an employee to pursue these opportunities. The mayor and many department heads have discussed ways to incentivize employees to pursue additional training and certifications that are beneficial to the operations of the city. While these opportunities are always changing and developing, we felt like this new policy kind of gives us flexibility to discuss and determine the certifications and how beneficial they are to what value. The policy also kind of creates a contract with the city and the employee for a month of service for each $100 spent on a said training or certification. So if you kind of look, this one's a little backwards. So what I did is the current certification verbiage in the handbook, 5.02, talks about employee training. We want to edit this a little bit because we don't want to also be too repetitive. So that kind of breaks down what it used to say. And then you got down or back up in 4.03 under employee pay rates, there was this city building inspector certification. So we're kind of trashing that because this new ad will cover that, encompass all of it. And it's basically any employee receives a pay increase of 50 cents to $1 an hour for certifications deemed beneficial to their job and approved by the department head and the mayor. And then talking about kind of the contract, you know, if we spend $500, you can't leave us next month and go work somewhere else now that you're more marketable without paying that back. So we wanted to add that in there as well.
And I'm going to just jump in, Travis, if you don't mind. Where we're seeing this come into play is right now it only addresses building inspectors. And obviously, for instance, we have an employee who went and got his right-of-way certification from the American Public Works Association. Well, that's a huge certification for us. I mean, it's good credentials for him. Also, people who become, we have an employee who became a certified arborist, but there was no provisions once they get that certification to be able to reward them for that or do a contract, because we've spent money allowing them to, you know, train or test for that. Most of the certifications right now that people have, we know they're going to take or classes they're going to take in the next year were included in the budget. There are probably a few here and there that were not, but right now the only people who can get any kind of increase for certifications would be a CDL driver or the building inspectors.
Is there a limit? It looks like there used to be a limit to how many you could get per year. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's been taken out, or? I'm just curious, I mean, because it winds up being possibly about
Yeah, and
$1,000 to $2,000
Right.
for each certification increase, so if you could get,
And we probably do need to add a maximum, which would be, I guess they had 2 certifications before.
that's what it used to be.
And a maximum and in certain situations possibly a cap, huh?
Yeah, I would say
Per
so.
year, I mean,
I would
I
say
think.
so. And again,
Well, I
there's
mean, not even per year, but like just a.
Yeah,
In
before
general,
it was
yes.
2 per year and
a maximum
10.
of 10.
So, I mean, that'd be $20,000,
Right,
and
so, a lot.
if you did it all in 1 year, that'd be a
And we
lot.
could probably add that. What do you think about adding that back in, Travis?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, honestly. I mean, I guess I always go back to that approved by department head and mayor. Like, I can't technically get it without having her signature, but I don't think it's bad to write it in there, so.
And we're also seeing a lot of times, just recently, we've lost 2 people in public works that we trained with CDLs, and then they've gone to work for concrete companies or gone to work for somebody else. This at least gives us a little bit of a contract with them so they stay with the city for the investment we've made in them.
That's a super competitive
Yeah, it is.
position right now.
What's a typical cost for a certification? What's the cost to the city?
A CDL is probably less than $100 from start to finish, so it's not a big cost. And we only reimburse them if they pass the test, so we don't pay for failure. The certified arbor, I think, is about $325.
So on this part about a contract for an employee for a month of service for each $100 spent, you're only talking 1 to 3 months.
Depending on the certification. I mean, there are some, if you,
How much for
We're all told between the exam, the study guides, and everything they get, we're probably anywhere from, on the low end, $400 up to $700 for a certification.
And then I was gonna ask Jason, like, not Jason, Carrie, the welding certification that Sue just got, and you remember?
Yeah, that was the hardest, and that's why we did the contract, because he went to school for 6 months.
Oh, okay, yeah, a little different, but,
Yeah.
so.
and probably different too, like lineman training. And I don't, that would all be more of a contract than of these certifications.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to expect anyone to stay longer than $100 per
Right.
Right.
spent per month.
I mean, even companies that do like college, I mean, it's usually after, they pay for it after you pass it, but even some of those, I mean, I don't know, what the current college course costs, but even them, it's like a year or so per semester. I think the $100, it seems like Jack said, you take a $300 certification, that's 3 months, that's really not that long, but I don't know, I think it's better than nothing. But I think anything richer would probably be too much,
Yeah.
so.
I think it's a start.
And we can see how it goes.
Yeah,
And,
I think
I
it's
mean,
a
all
start.
this
I
would
mean,
come back.
soft pilot, I think it's a start. I mean, I really believe that we need to start incentivizing people to have opportunity here.
When I was looking for chief, and I don't think she's here, but I know the police department's had, yeah, Shane's in the lobby, but like I know some of the police department has got trained and certified and all and left and went and worked for another municipality. So this potentially help us there as well.
I think we need to do something about that. I mean, we send somebody to the academy. I think we need some
I think
kind of-
they do have a contract,
Oh, really?
and they have to pay it back if they go to the academy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do.
All right. Any other questions about that?
Any other questions, council?
All right, so the next one, it's got a lot of yellow highlighting on it. This is, and the mayor's gonna talk a little bit about this, but this is talking a little bit about our benefit for eligible retirees, for employees hired prior to October 1st, 2010. Mayor? I'm ready for you.
Like the mayor. So we have had, most of you probably know that under RSA, law enforcement is actually, if they work 25 years, they actually get 30 years. I don't know if it's 30 years of service credit, but it's equivalent to 30 years working, and they're eligible for retirement from RSA. So some of them have expressed interest in possibly retiring retiring at that point, but they're not to the 50 years old, and they don't technically, according to the city guidelines, it's not 50, it's 55, but not according to the city guidelines they're not eligible for retirement under that 30 years of service. But by RSA standards, they are. So we were looking at it and trying to determine if this was a benefit that we could add for law enforcement, that if you retire, right now the way it is that a retired employee must pay 10% of their insurance premium each month. But with law enforcement, if they wanted to retire with the 30 years of service credit or with credit from RSA, then they could pay 50% of those benefits. Just
We don't-
something for discussion.
But we don't really have a premium system, I mean, do we?
No.
So what are we gonna calculate that on?
What do you mean, a
We do.
premium
Like,
system?
well, I mean, we're self-insured, so,
Well, we know what it costs to provide that insurance.
Okay, so you're gonna
Yes.
calculate
Yes.
Yeah.
They
total
would have to pay
cost for-
50% of that, because what you don't want to do is have somebody retire at 45
Right,
and then gap them, paying only 10% of their insurance. Most of them are going to be in the 50-year-old range. So, I mean, paying 50% of those benefits. It is, again, something that is up for discussion, but I wanted to bring it here tonight because it would be a change to the handbook, something for y'all to think about and see if it's something that you would want for us to, look at and tweak.
So I'm clear, the highlighted portion is proposed, or?
Really just for discussion purposes.
Okay, that's not what it currently
Right.
states. then.
Yeah, so at the
That is what it-
bottom,
Currently
That is what it currently states.
yes, the top part
That is.
Okay,
is currently stated in our handbook.
okay.
An employee, any employee who was hired before 2010 and is eligible for retirement under RSA, is at least 55 years old or has at least 30 years of service with the city, is eligible to continue the same health group benefits, paying 10% of the cost. What we're talking about is if you skip down to RSA at the bottom, RSA allows kind of a hazard pay credit that they'll give police officers, fire department, correction officers, an additional year of service for 5 years served. So we've had several of our police officers come to us and go, would the city of Fairhope adopt that same policy to give them those extra, that hazard pay service credit, so to speak?
What does that look like, Travis? Explain that to me.
So, I think an employee everybody who's not 55 years old is trying to get the 30 years with the city of Fairhope, because that gives them the health benefit, which is a huge thing. So that gaps them from their retirement to they are eligible for Medicare. So this would get them there as a police officer and a correction officer. That would give them basically a 5-year, that would give them that extra 5 years
That would
because
close
of
the
their
gap
20. It would
if they
close
wanted
that
to
fi-
retire at
They
50.
could retire at 25 versus 30 and still get the health benefit. And what all they're saying is, hey, RSA does this, would the city of Fairhope be willing? I mean, we don't have any reason to, other than just to reward those guys for their service.
And we've had several ask. I mean, y'all know the state of law enforcement in our country right now. I mean, several of them who have started working, with the department when they're, 20 years old, and now they're eligible for retirement or 25 from RSA standards, but not necessarily from Fairhope because they're not 55.
how standard is this across the other municipalities as far as what they're asking for? I mean,
Well, I think this is a pretty rich benefit for retirees. I think it is common in a lot of government in Baldwin County, from what I understand, but it's a nice benefit to have.
I guess one thing that I would have was,
What would that look like?
they've been operating under the existing rules for a long time, and then you go in after the fact and change it, and they knew the rules going in. And, I think that government in general has a bad habit of just going back in hindsight when it's not budgeted. I mean, we're
That's what I'm
talking
asking.
about things
What's
that
that look like?
going on for 25 years. Yeah, what does it look like? It's a great question.
Yeah.
And
It may be so minuscule that
I don't-
we wouldn't have to
Yeah.
Right.
talk about it.
I don't think that right now it impacts a large number of employees. I'm not saying in the future that it couldn't, because I don't know everybody's years of service.
Right.
I think right now, probably maybe 1 or 2 at the most. And again, I agree with you, they knew what the rules were going in. But some of that is, I think, just the burnout in the job.
Yeah.
you know, in law enforcement, and that's why RSA, I'm sure, handles things the way they do. It was just something for us to, you know, we were asked about it, so bring forth, consider it, and
Yeah, I think, I mean, I would just like to see the projections on what that looked like as the years go on and what type of burden that would put on our citizens, if any, you know, that's the only thing, but other than that, I don't have a,
Well, and it is, I mean, it would be a defined number, I mean, we can do the research. but
Right.
Nobody else is getting hired prior to October 1st, 2010,
Yeah.
so, there is a solid number out there,
yeah,
so.
so we can get a
Assuming they all
list.
stay, you know, through the.
right.
Yeah, so.
So let me ask you that then. So this would only apply to those hired prior to October
That's correct.
Correct.
1, 2010?
Right.
Just prior to that,
That's
Okay.
correct.
not
Yeah.
after that.
You know, it'd be just, exactly like this reads, employees hired prior to October 1st, 2010, who are eligible for retirement from the city, or if you're law enforcement and you're eligible for retirement, you know, through RSA, and you're not 55 years old, but you have that 30 years of service credit.
What does it look like after if you were hired after October 1st, 2010?
We don't know.
offer that.
And we don't get that, employees right now who are hired after that don't get that benefit.
None of this,
You can retire, but you don't have the option to continue the
With
health care.
insurance.
so those are only for the guys grandfathered in that was prior.
Correct.
Anybody after that doesn't even see
does
this,
not
they don't
apply.
even
Yeah.
come,
That's correct.
That's correct. So it's a static number, I mean,
oh, that makes it even, okay,
That makes it even a bigger reward for the people that are
right.
currently here. Kind
There have been
of
here.
widens the gap between them and the newer
It
employees
does.
even more.
Yeah,
But it also could
push.
de-incentivize them
That's
to
right.
work an extra 5 years too. It's
Right.
like,
I don't know.
just 5 years early.
I think it would definitely decentivize them. That's why they're asking, I guess. is if they
Exactly.
wanna-
I'd retire 5 years early if I could.
I probably would not stay here. Well, and I think they just see that, you know, they're nearing retirement, they're seeing that they're eligible to retire through RSA because of that benefit offered to them for their hazard pay. And I think I think the question was fair, you know, to go, hey,
Yeah.
would
I
the
mean,
city
yeah,
offer that as well?
I agree.
You know, and I don't know when RSA added that, if that's been, you know, part of it from the beginning, I'm not sure, I don't know the history. But I think it's a fair question, so. But we can try to get some numbers back and let you know, what we're looking at and kind of go from there.
And that'd be helpful.
Yeah, we can get a list of employees on how many were hired before 10 and what their years of service are currently.
So
Probably
now, you
not that
mentioned
many.
the 50% copay instead of 10%. What is the difference?
So if law enforcement, if they retire before that 55 years of age, then they would have to pay 50% of their retirement benefits versus 10%.
That's what it currently states?
No, that's what we were asking, is that they would pay 50% versus the 10%.
Okay, so that changes things also then. So
Oh,
you're
you're-
saying, although they may get to retire 50%, 5 years early, roughly, essentially 5 years early,
They would pay the
their
50.
cost is 50% of the health instead of 10%.
Correct, not 10%.
That's kind of us,
correct.
that's kind of us giving a little, too, like, hey, we're gonna.
That offsets,
That
allow
offsets
this,
it.
but
that
we're gonna-
offsets quite a bit.
It
Right.
does. I didn't know, I didn't hear that
Yes,
part.
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't quite understand it, but I thought it
Yes,
better cover
I'm
it
sorry.
again.
Yes,
Thank you.
they would pay 50% of that cost versus the 10%.
Up until they hit 55 or from then
Correct.
on?
Up until they hit,
Until they hit Medicare.
yeah,
Hit-
until they hit
okay, all the way to
Medicare.
65.
Well, until they hit 55,
65.
well, oh, it would stay
Yeah, it's the gap.
50%?
Yeah.
Well, golly, they might be better off with the
Stand.
10%.
Right, just
10%
stand.
I
from
think that would be-
55 to 65.
That
then,
may be
right?
up to them to calculate, but I
Yeah.
mean,
They won't
Well, you'd
work.
have,
And they are okay, and that's what they put on the table, they're cool with that?
They're just asking, would we give them the years of service credit?
Yeah.
That's
And
all
then you're
they're
saying
asking.
if
And
you
you're
did
saying
that,
if you
then you
did
would
that.
make it equal to the plan that RSA is
Right.
offering.
yeah, I guess because if that, in that donut hole of 50 to 55, currently they'd have to pay 100%
correct.
of their insurance.
But what are we calculating ballpark as the monthly
About
cost?
14,000?
So
Month-
this
monthly.
round is gonna be around $15,000, somewhere in there.
Annual or per monthly?
That's
Annual,
That's
for family coverage.
If they went and done this in another what the benefit is, or if we wait another 5 years, here's what the benefit is. I mean, those are decisions, y'all will be making.
So it works out to being, right now, they're paying $125 a month. Moving forward, they'd be paying $600 a month.
And some of them aren't paying anything because they are grandfathered in.
Right. So for
From an even
5
older
years,
one.
though, worst case for 5 years, they would have no coverage until if they were 50, they would have no coverage until they're 55, and then they would pay 10% of the cost from age 55 to 65. What being
Well, if they went
What's
ahead.
being
and-
proposed, you're saying,
That would
is that
go
they would
away.
be paying 50% from age 50 to 65.
If they
No.
retire early, that
Yeah.
10% goes away completely.
That would go, yeah, but that's right, because they have to be 55 currently.
Oh,
So what would happen is if they retired at 50 with the 30 years of service, then they would have to pay 50% of their health insurance until they reach Medicare age. Not 10%.
They would have to stay until they're 55 to get the 10%.
Correct.
Yeah, I got it.
That's pros and cons for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
I mean, they would have to, I
Yeah.
don't mind that then.
It
That's
costs them
gonna be on-
$5,000 a year to
Yeah, I-
retire 5 years early.
I don't
Correct.
think, personally, I don't know if
Correct.
that's a good deal. Depends on how bad you hate your job, but,
Right.
I mean,
And again, I don't think it's so much about people hating their
When
job.
you
I
get
think
my age,
some of
you
it's just
start thinking about
burnout.
the-
Yeah,
yeah,
I
well,
think it's just
that's what,
burnout.
you know,
Yeah.
Quality of
tongue
life,
in cheek,
too.
you know, I
Right.
don't mean any harm.
It's a tough job.
That's
Yeah, no
that's
doubt.
something that they could decide.
I mean, that's something they can decide.
Right.
I'd be willing to give them that opportunity, you know.
We can type that up to make sure y'all see the language and go ahead and email it out and let you look at it and consider it.
It's definitely, it's give and take. It's
It
not
is.
one-sided either.
No,
that's
it's
for
not.
sure.
We're-
Yeah, that's a tough decision.
Yeah.
What's the senior citizen think over there?
65, you don't worry about it.
You ask.
You got to worry about a vote.
Think about that.
Classic Kevin Boone kind
That's
of
right.
response. I love it, man. All right. What else you got, Travis?
You want me to start this one, Travis?
That's all you.
Okay. So the other thing that you have is a job description for a licensed electrician that we would like to add to the agenda possibly next meeting. So as most of you know, we have quite a few projects that we are undergoing right now that could use a licensed electrician. We have a couple marina repairs, we have the Pecan building that we could use an electrician for, and every day we have, projects where we could use a licensed electrician. So this is a job description for that. This has been reviewed by Diane Thomas with the Personnel Board. We also had Auburn review it, correct? And help draft it. So this is just before you tonight to have for discussion, and then to possibly add to the agenda at the next meeting so we can possibly look at, advertising for this position and hiring someone.
I think it's a great idea. I have one quick question. Is this, would this take the place, do we have openings right now? And would this take the place of any openings that we would have for just, a unlicensed electrician?
It does not at this time because we don't have that position, we don't have a position open. So it would be a new position, but it will reduce the cost of some of the projects that we have that we already know kind of a ballpark cost. Because labor is so high right now. So we do have that information. We would not have to purchase a vehicle. We have made sure there is a vehicle available. And we do currently have two folks on the payroll who could help this electrician. once they're hired.
What's that range on grade 26?
I would have to,
You know?
I don't have it with me.
Just put it in our box or something.
Okay.
We got time, we got a week. I was thinking we got 2 weeks, we got a week. Lisa, what?
Couple days.
Got a couple of days?
I can get it for you between meetings too.
You got half the things on this agenda that we're gonna be on the next one, right? So, oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell Jimmy that.
What?
All right, any questions about any of that?
No, I think it's great.
All right.
Do very much needed.
Thank you, Travis.
All right. So what I heard was, we still want to kind of, a little bit more discussion maybe on, let us think about those first things and then on that. Does anybody have a problem with the licensed electrician? Anybody at all? No? Okay, I'm not hearing any resistance to that.
Good.
All right, committee updates. Councilman Boone.
Actually, the Personnel Board meeting was going to be held on the 18th of this month, and it got moved to December 2nd at 4 o'clock. There is a lot of stuff to go over, so they decided to have an afternoon meeting, give us more time to go over this more information of this sort.
Okay.
Only thing I've got, so. Won't be a meeting the 18th, there will not be a meeting on the 18th.
Okay. Councilman Martin?
Not too much. Went to Fairhope Environmental Advisory Board meeting and had a good meeting. One of the things that came up was them getting involved in the land use plan, and there is a trap that we were talking about putting down to collect sediment and debris, and I think they're going to get on board with trying to help us as an advocate to decide what's the best place for that trap, and between Cowpen and I think the place that they were originally thinking about was putting it in that little collection area right by Winn-Dixie. But I'm not sure. I don't have all the information on that trap. I guess it'll come to us eventually here, but it's to help protect the watershed. But that's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Conyers?
The only update I've got is the library board held a retirement party for Martin Leno after many, many years of service, and popped in to check on him. It was a great turnout. A lot of people came, good food, and a good time was had by everyone that attended. So thanks again to Martin for his service to the city of Fairhope.
Okay. All right, we had an airport authority meeting. We've had several, it seems, lately. We have a lot of special call meetings, but a couple of items to note. We still, although we need to build some more T-hangers, the cost of construction, the cost of steel is just too high. We couldn't, nobody would pay the rent it would take to make that feasible, so we're hoping that the price of steel will come down in the near future and we can pursue that. We do have a couple of private hangars being built on the east side, and we do have a lot of people interested in leasing land from us for additional private hangars. We also have an individual that has got a ground lease where they're going to build, I believe, 8 box hangars and a box hangar. It's probably not as fancy as one of those private hangars, but it's nicer than a T hangar. You put, depending on the size of plane, 1 to 2 planes in that. We also, on tonight's agenda, have an approval. I think the city needs to bless a grant of $59,000 to the airport authority. We also have approved plans for a building to be constructed on the east side of the airport, an FBO. We approved a design for that. We also approved the master plan. It was just a very slight tweaking of an existing plan for the east side. And I apologize. I said I was going to do this, and I'll put it in your box this week, but in the future I'm going to start just getting copies of the minutes and the information, and I'll just hand it to everybody so that I don't leave something out. But I think that's it for my committee meetings. We have a rec board meeting coming up. Is it tomorrow or Wednesday, Corey?
Wednesdays.
Wednesday afternoon. Okay. That's it. Anybody else have any other committee updates that you thought of you want to go back to? All right. Department head updates. Travis, anything else? Good. Okay. Jason? We're starting on this side of the room tonight.
Get it over with. Our department has several things on the agenda tonight.
Bless you.
Really don't have a whole lot for updates. I can tell you some issues that we've got about that, the front, that I'll come back and revisit you all after I bring the mayor up to speed on what we got. Our fusing machine, where we fuse HDPE pipe, is down, and this is all on me.
on the budget, because it was overlooked. And so I will be coming back. But there is, we worked very hard after we did get the budget approved. We still work very hard to make sure that what is budgeted, that we get it the best possible price. And then we sit back, we talk all the time. I talk to our guys, day and night, like on our trucks. We're trying to balance things. So we're actually, we got a truck on tonight's agenda, and we'll have a truck on next council meeting agenda, and then we'll stop right there. And we've still got one truck that will be on our budget that we're not going to buy this year. So no, when I do come up here, that it is, in my opinion, a dire need. Okay, we work very hard to make sure that we're not wasting the ratepayers' money at all to get the job done. The guys do a great job getting things accomplished. So we're working on the back truck. It was on our budget, trying to get the best price, but vehicles are a problem right now. So we're doing the best we can, but we're gonna have to move forward with the vac truck. We had 3 sewer issues today. That's why my breeches are stained. I stepped in the wrong hole, okay? So with all that said, I can't put that off. We're gonna have to move forward with the vac truck. And I know that's a very expensive item. I think our budget number was $415. But it's just something we're working, trying to get that price, but it's going to be right in there around the 415.
Around what?
We're doing our best. It's going to be right there with the budget number, 415.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but that's down the road. I just wanted to bring that up. We've got a Freightliner truck that with Tim Bones, great help. We're going to repurpose, so I'll be bringing that back to you. We're going to put a dump body on that truck. It's got a utility body on it now. So we'll repurpose that truck for our department. So when we're getting our guys into a 1-ton truck and out of those big trucks, which is a lot more efficient, and we're getting our guys, keep them sitting in each other's laps by 4-door trucks. We run 3-man crews. So anyway. So are we okay to look at the agenda items? Or
Yeah, let's do
come
it.
back?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it while you're up there.
The first one's number 10. That's for well 3-11. That's the new well at well field 3, treatment plant 3 on County Road 33. That's we opened bids, and I don't have the date, but it's been a few weeks ago. And the low bid was $861 from Griner. And Griner has previously did work for Fairhope. And they're local, or they're in the area, they're in Baldwin County.
Spanish Fort. Yep.
And we did, again, we worked hard. Our engineer on this is Krebs, and we sat down with a pre-bid meeting, and then after the bid to try to get that number down without made sure there was no unknowns. Anytime you got an unknown, a bidder is going to put a huge number out there and we tried to answer every question. So I think we did, everybody involved did a great job. We were estimating that well at around $1 million, and it's $861. And also, and it was, I give Curtis Cooper, our employee, 100% of the credit, and also with Krebs, that the test well to do this to start with will actually be a production well. So that would also be able to pull water out of it as well. So anyway, we're doing several things to get the biggest bang for the buck, okay? But that's the 861.
There were 2 bids, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see. it.
Good bid.
Yeah.
Good one.
11's not ours, but I would like to touch it when I saw it on there for the fire station. We're going to do our very best. You're not going to see that again. We're going to help them out. And I don't know if that's our building or not, but we're going to put a grinder on that fire station. So you're not going to see this again, okay?
You gonna put a what on it?
We're going to put a pump station on it, a grinder station
Oh,
on
yes.
that. Because
Lift
when the
station,
flows
yeah.
get up on that line and that station sits down in a hole and their floor drains are tied into sewer, it comes up. So we're going to eliminate that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there that we are on it, and as soon as we get the tennis court done, That's our next project, okay? For that.
You're going to request to put one there, right? I just try to change the way you approach the council. You go, we're going to do this, and we have to approve it. So you're going to say you're going to request to put a lift station there, right? It's your semantics.
Yeah, but I
Right.
don't, unless you make me come back for council, I wasn't going to, because it's, you're talking about $4,000 or $5,000.
That's it? That'll fix the problem?
Yes, sir. With our employees find work putting it in and doing the tie-ins, yes, sir.
It's the same thing that you're doing at the
We're
tennis.
doing the same thing at the tennis club.
We have the same problem at the tennis.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We try
Ignore
to,
what I said.
we try to have solutions when we
I
find
thought you were putting in a
problems.
new lift station there.
No, it's
Just the
for
grinder.
that.
It's a real mini
one.
Yeah. I would not have said it that way if
Oh,
it would
well, I-
have been
I was
something. I promise you
wondering. I
that. No, I'm not
misunderstood.
arrogant, I assure you.
Well, I didn't think you were. I mean, you know, it's a good selling point when you say you got to do it. I mean, it's a,
And that's what we do, is find solutions to the problem, okay? 15 is the next on the agenda. It's just our mini X. It was budgeted. And it's replacing a backhoe, which I'm not sure the backhoe gets turned into a Tim Bond. I'm not sure where it goes, but I think it was going to be repurposed. Okay.
okay.
Then 18 is the
I
truck.
can tell he's
that we have on
not
the
a
agenda.
graduate of the Richard Johnson School of Estimating yet.
And then 18 is the service truck. The reason.
Oh,
that-
maybe he is.
No. This is,
incorrect.
again, we've set and revisited. That budget number was for F550 at the time, or
Oh.
5,500. And we went back with Tim Bong's help, and we went back to the weight of what we're gonna be hauling with it, and we could downsize the truck. So we downsized that truck, and that's why the savings is there. And we also went with a more economical body.
And we appreciate that very
So
much.
that's things that the guys worked on. And the last, I think, is 23, and that's for, it's a misprint, it's 6 inch through 12 inch, not 1 inch through 12 inch. Mr. Boone knows it'd be hard to find 1 inch ductile iron, wouldn't it? And that's for our stock and our replacement and the work that we're doing.
All right.
Fellas, that's all I have.
All right. Appreciate it. Terry?
Thanks, Jason. Hey, Terry.
Good afternoon.
Don't have much of an update. I know every one of y'all have received the letter from the PSC, and we're proud that work turned out really well. We passed with 100% on what they looked at and what they evaluated and what we've done. So work's not going to end. We got a lot to do, but it did pay off with all the hard work and with the money that y'all gave us to do the work. So I want to thank y'all and thank my employees for what they've done. It was a major task, and we accomplished it. So I'm proud of them for that.
Very good.
We're still getting surprises on Church Street. I think that's going to be never ending. We fix them as we go, and everything's pretty smooth right now. Let's keep our fingers crossed and say our prayers, but so far it's going good. They're getting good headway on the 4-inch, and hopefully they can get that hot and get us out of that way of that cast iron. I think that's going to help. Really, that's all I got. We're overwhelmed with work. The services are coming in with the building that's going on. You just almost can't keep up. We're doing the best we can and fast as we can, as much as we can safely. And that's about all we can do. Other than that, I'd just like to go over just the one item I have on the agenda, unless y'all have any questions.
Talking 17?
Yes, sir.
We're good. It's budgeted.
Yes, and it's the same thing. It's
You read Richard's book. You're good.
It's a different type truck, and I want to give credit for Jason. He searched hard, and we found these trucks, and they have work bodies on them already, and that saved us a bunch right there. And they're on a lot, and they're waiting for us. So it's just nice to be able to find that. And come up way under budget, so that's a plus.
Okay. Any questions for Terry?
No, thanks, Terry.
You good? Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
All right. Jeremy, AKA my partner last weekend.
Yeah, if you could have shot a couple better strokes, we might have won that thing, but I'll forgive you.
No doubt.
So no, I don't have a lot of things, really nothing. My brain scattered. It's been a Monday of all Mondays, so it's been busy. I got 1,000 balls up in there. I'm just grabbing at one, trying to get stuff done and accomplished. Tree lighting, I guess, first and foremost, thanks to Richard and all his guys, and Gandy Shop and my guys. Hopefully we'll be ready to go Thursday. We ain't missed one yet, so shouldn't miss this one. Well, we just cross our fingers and hope for the best when it comes to lighting of the trees. But no, we're gonna walk through and see how good job everybody did, and hopefully everything be fine. We got a couple days to touch up anything that the mayor, whoever doesn't like, so. Let's see, what else? I don't have anything on the agenda. You'll see all my stuff hopefully popping in next council meeting, I hope. Yes, substation is, the civil work, all the dirt work's complete. We had an email today from the substation contract crew asking if it was okay for them to get in on site, and I haven't seen a response from Jay, but I'm pretty sure that everything's ready for them to rock and roll. I expect them to see them out there today, but they weren't out there, so maybe they're waiting on the word to get out there. So no, it's ready for them to go. They'll get in there and work really fast, so it should be quick once they get in there. We're good on that. You notice the area out here is blocked off. We're supposed to start work today on drilling holes. We got to drill some 12-inch or 24-inch by 12-foot holes to put the concrete in for the solar canopy. Unfortunately, the steel did not ship yet. It was supposed to have already shipped last week. It's running behind, so I'm waiting on word from that. The EV chargers, we had a mix-up in shipment on the two that was supposed to go at the parking deck. I want to start that this week. They came in, but they are post mount instead of wall mount, so I've got a conversation with those guys to get the right ones here for that. So hopefully they'll straighten that up and we can get those EVs in place, and hopefully start work on that as soon as the steel gets here for the solar canopy. But I think that's all I got for now. Good? Y'all good?
Good.
All right, keep practicing.
The problem is I hadn't practiced any. Chief?
Good evening, everybody. Just want to remind everybody that we're still taking applications for our Citizens Academy, and we'll take applications through November 30th. And anyone who's interested can apply on our fairhopeal.gov website, and it'll be under Public Safety under the Police Department. There's a tab there where you can apply. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Paige?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks, Corey and Mayor, for coming out for our Veterans Day Parade last Saturday. We had a wonderful parade in downtown. Thank you for Kevin coming out for the Sunset Prayer Service on Thursday. So we'll be honoring Doug Mansman tonight, who was our 2021 Veteran of the Year. So we're excited to do that. Hopefully some of our committee members will be in attendance as well. So yeah, we're just gearing up for holiday events. We kick off the holidays on Thursday, so I hope to see everybody there Thursday night, 5:30. I left some flyers at the back. Includes all of our holiday events from now until the end of the year, so we have a lot going on, like Jeremy said. So we'll be leaving here shortly to check the lights in the trees, make sure we're not going to have any mishaps on Thursday night. So if y'all need us, just call us, because we'll be downtown. But yeah, so we just got a lot going on, and I've got a few things on next week's agenda. So if y'all got any questions, we'll be trying to push out street closures and make sure everybody's aware of everything that's going on downtown in the next couple of days. So if y'all hear anything, just shoot them over to us. We can answer any questions they have. So.
All right.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you. Jessica? All right. Kim? Richard? Hope that's not your notes to go over, right?
No, a couple high-level things. We did get dredging underway. They've got a 6-inch dredge running right now with an 8-inch on the way. kind of feel bad for them. You know, those slips hadn't been dredged in a long time, and so they get about 5 minutes of dredging and about 10 minutes of getting ropes, tarps, and everything else they're picking up off the bottom. But once they get that first pass, then it speeds up a lot quicker. But that is underway, and we're glad to have that. Twin Beach is open. Seems to be working really well as a fully functioning intersection. Again, they will come back sometime in the first quarter of the new calendar year and install the mast arm poles and the signal upgrades at that time when those arrive. And we did get our paperwork from AlDOT today on our MPO project on Gayfer Avenue. So the only thing we're waiting on is everything is finalized, approved. They just got the funds physically get released from somewhere, federal government, and come into AlDOT. And as soon as that happens, they'll give us a thumbs up to start the advertisement and everything on that project. And our local AlDOT region thought that we would probably get that word out following Thanksgiving. So we're excited about that. So just to continue hammering things away. I apologize in advance. I think I now have over a quarter of the items on the agenda. Some of them are relatively routine. I don't think anybody has any problem with the request for surplus. Just so you know, I didn't pull it up this morning, but I think this is 4 years we've been really aggressive with government deals, and I think we've probably in that 4 years have returned over $1 million back to the city in sale of assets, if not more than that. Tim and Billy and his folks down there at the mechanical maintenance facility do a great job of managing this. And just as when Jason says, hey, we're going to replace a backhoe and it's going to be repurposed, what happens is we take the worst backhoe that we have and it goes onto government deals, and we take the one that's better than the one we have. And we get excited about that because even those old assets, not old, but well-used assets such as a backhoe 420 sells really, really well on government deals, and that's one of those things that really bumps the dial for us, so excited about that. I have the A-Trip 2 application, which is due on the 19th, which is Friday. We've talked about it at work sessions, but this is kind of you've got the resolution before you of support, and there is a strong possibility that if this is a successful application, there's a private partner that's going to help offset some costs, which I think the mayor shared with you, which is a very positive thing as well. Jason mentioned item 11. Kim and I have already kind of talked about that maybe we may need to have a pre-placed bid for that type of response when we have damage due to sewer backups and damage that requires remediation, because I don't think anybody was expecting that bill to be as big as it was. It was a bad backup in that station, and the sad part, we're getting quotes to repair that station, and the quotes are coming in lower than what the cleanup cost was, which is just it was a high bill that we just did not anticipate. But sure, insurance is in play. I don't think anybody has any problem with the pot and soil. That's an annual thing that we have to do. That is for all of the soil material that we not only use to propagate the plants, but also that's that beautiful soil that you see in the planted flower beds throughout the city. We do have the landfill bulldozer, item number 14, and I'll be glad to speak on that.
Richard, I want to go back to 12, just
Yes,
out of curiosity more than anything, on the potting soil. Do we actually buy them in bags? And I'm thinking maybe we do to keep the moisture in because it's got a certain moisture content, or do we buy it in bulk?
We buy it in bulk, but
We buy it in bulk by the truckload, but
yeah, but it comes palletized in bags that a workman can pick up a bag. It's that, it's that bag when you cut it open, it expands about 4 times as big as the actual bag was. And we do that for several reasons. One, there are nutrients contained within that pot and soil that if you can't stack it out in the weather in a bin and use it like an agricultural project, or you'll end up diluting the concentration of all the benefits of that soil. The other thing is we use it strategically throughout the year, so it stores very well in that form.
Yeah. Okay.
And 2 is, hey, we're working in this area, go get 8 bags, and so it's just a.
That's a good, I had somebody ask that question, I couldn't quite, I just kind of guessed at the answer, which was somewhere along those lines, so.
And it is a supercharged potting soil, I'll just tell you.
Right.
It is specifically designed for the type of operation to ensure the greatest success of the propagation and color and blooms of the plants. We have the landfill bulldozer. We have a budgeted mini excavator. That's item 16. Then 19, I don't think is controversial. That's our annual flower planting for our fiscal year budget 2022. And that's for the whole next year cycle, meaning every change out through the fiscal year. 20 is a routine garbage cart. That has become a greater challenge. Our past vendors have just not been able to supply us. And right now, Dale's been very nervous because I think we were down to below 40 carts, new carts in stock, and we're adding about 30 customers a month. So you can kind of do the math. And Pat White keeps asking, where's all the carts and his parts gone lately? So we've been repurposing them. And then item 22 is the former USA office building, former library on North Summit Street, and replacing the 5-ton air conditioning in the large portion of that building, and that is equipment, material, and labor. I'll be glad to address any questions.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa, did you have something? Okay. Council, at the beginning of the council meeting, I will ask you to amend the agenda you should all have, and we'll add item number 27, which would be before the public participation, adding a request from the Sunset Rotary Club Foundation for permission to use the streets. If you see that, for the .5K charity run. Lisa, thank you for running this down today. They had called me this weekend, granted, they probably should have started this process, 4 to 6 weeks earlier than they did, but they didn't. And so they have to order supplies and T-shirts, and, everything takes longer now, and they had asked to try to rush this on. So Lisa and any other staff that helped push that through to get all those approvals, I appreciate that today. So I'll ask y'all to go ahead and consider this. They don't want to order their items without approval. This is not a new event, so I'll ask you to add that. Mayor, anything? All right, well, we're finished a little bit early with the work session and the agenda meeting. We'll go ahead and adjourn, and we'll start back here. Let's get back here on time so we can start promptly at 6 o'clock.